sales, marketing, business development, and we took it from really 0 to 250 million a year in 3 or 4 years. Took it public in 1994 as a big Boston kind of, IPO type of thing. And a year later, in 1997, I got asked to look at this company of all places in Calgary, Alberta. And I went up there and I'm looking and I'm in the back in the lab on an oscilloscope, and this guy is showing me packets moving. In this case, they were voice packets. In the Shiva case, they were data packets, so you can get your email remotely or something like that. In this case, they were voice packets. And I was like, oh my God, that's like voice packets. How do you do that? And, that's been the holy grail. And I think that was the origin for me of, we called it packet voice, but other people...
Voice over IP?
That's the thing. Voice over IP. So I moved the headquarters to Boston, Newton, over at Buff's Pub, of all places.
Good place to be.
Yep. And, I would take everyone down, and I'd pay the first $150 every Tuesday night for all the wings.
That's a lot of wings.
And then I'd leave, because I don't want to know what happened. And I was the CEO of that company, MCK Communications, took that public in 1999. And then in 2001, I joined Lazard, the bank, and set up their venture capital arm here in Boston. Lazard went through a lot of changes, moved from a private, Mystique bank to an M&A shop, and I joined Prism in 2004 and been investing since 2004.
It's a typical ride of an entrepreneur.
Well, I think that's right. I think not just for an entrepreneur, but I think for most young people, I think those days are gone when you graduate college and you work for IBM or AT&T and you put in your 30 or 40 years and you get a pension and all life is good. I don't think that exists anymore, and I think the opportunities for the next generation of people are going to be a little bit harder than maybe for our generation, because certainly we all did a little bit better than our parents, or at least had more opportunity during this kind of great economic boom. And I think today, and this is what I counsel a lot of young people to, is that your career is really going to, and I'm talking to you, your career...
Our producer, Tony.
Yeah, he looks like a young person, right?
Looks a lot younger than us.
Yeah. Your career...
It's a good thing this is radio.
He has hair and it's all black.
Right. Your career really is going to be probably 6 or 7 5-year stints if you're able to do it right. And your advancement and your promotion and your economic opportunity are going to, kind of happen like that. Which is interesting because, most of the real brainiac young kids are very, very good on strategic analysis and very low on the risk scale. But by definition, your career is risky. And I think that's a common theme, that needs to be played, with a lot of young people, because there is no such thing as security. And I think once you can kind of grasp that notion, you're now free to kind of pursue,
But I think that is consistent with sort of the, this generation in terms of the way they've been oriented. There's just that plethora of technology that has come to them, and they tend to adopt things very quickly. And I think the loyalty or lack thereof in the corporate environment seems to me to work well, given that it's sort of a double-edged sword. It goes both ways. There's no loyalty on their side. There's not a lot of, I think big multinational or international brands are challenged with that because there is no loyalty of the generation. Certainly some companies have figured it out very well. Others have struggled with it. But it's interesting. You must see that a lot in your work at Bentley as well with this generation in terms of what their career aspirations are.
When I left school, I didn't have a lot of loyalty either when I was 22, 23 years old. And I didn't have a lot of loyalty when I first left, experienced graduate school either. I had no loyalty. I was moving around trying to get experience. So I can relate to some of it. I was trying to gain experience. But after I got married, bought a house, had kids, all of a sudden I developed loyalty. I had different responsibilities driving me, and stability was driving me at that point in time, but I still had the entrepreneurial instincts. So it was, how did I blend entrepreneurship with my need for stability at the same time on the other end, because I couldn't make my family unstable the whole time. So I don't totally hold kids unaccountable for moving around. I think it's still a good experience. is that we have to understand that they are different from us and can't expect them to be the way we are. We have to give them those entrepreneurial experiences as well within our environments if we want them to stay.
Absolutely. In fact, I think there's a great investment opportunity. We see and have done this in terms of supplying enterprises or corporations with the same tools to replace business process that the kids are using at home. In other words, if you're, 25-year-old and you go home and you're on Kayak and you're HomeLink and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all these kind of great consumer services, your work experience really has got to be representative of that. In other words, you can't go to work and have like a DOS screen to work from. The corporation needs to supply you some of the social tools, instant chat, little groups, sharing information. So, it's been an interesting.
But I'll generalize your